Chris, what's going on? Good morning, man. How are you today?
Good morning. Doing well, bright and early.
Yeah. And, quick update for everybody. I am in a hotel room in where in the world is Adam? I am still in Minneapolis. I'm in a hotel room in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Tuesday night, I had asked y'all where you thought I would be. I thought I would be somewhere in St. Louis area, but what happened is the whole van debacle, I finally just dropped off the van in Minnesota and I said, here you go. You figure it out. And I bought a plane ticket home. So I got to get on a plane. We're going to do a sharp 1 hour today because I leave. Car rentals due at 8 o'clock Central Time. And I'm going to fly home. I'll be home a day early and be done with this leg of the journey.
What happened with the van?
Sorry, we covered some of this on Tuesday night. The starter was starting intermittent, and I'm not a great car mechanic, but I've come from a long line of really crappy cars, especially back in college. And on the starter, there's basically a spring called a solenoid that will shoot up. It engages the flywheel, spins it, starts the engine. And what I think had started to happen was the solenoid can get jammed and gunked up. And so it was only starting intermittently. So I got to, I think it was Paducah, Kentucky, and didn't start. And 30 minutes later, cools off, temperature changes, metal does things at different temperatures. Boom, starts like that while I was getting it jumped. So in my mind, I'm thinking it was a battery problem. Turns out the jump was just coincidental. Get to Iowa City Monday night. Won't start. 2 a.m. It's getting towed to a Jeep dealership or a Dodge dealership for service in the morning. I sleep in the van in the Dodge dealership parking lot. And then the next morning it was chilly. I went to try and get some heat in the van, at least turn the electrical part on, boom, the whole thing starts. So I call the guy and I'm like, look, I'm not turning this van off again until I get to Minnesota, where I'm going to drop these animals off, and then we'll get this thing serviced. So I did just that. When I was refueling, leave the engine running. If I had to run into a pit stop, leave the engine running. It was
let her run.
And then the funny thing was, he said, hey, we actually have a rental market in Minneapolis. You could drop the van off. And I said, okay, great. And so I texted him to get it in writing. I said, if I drop this off, you're going to refund my money from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we're done. And he goes, yep, all good. I said, okay, cool. Perfect. Call Kelly, get her to help me get a flight home, hotel, all that. And what was really funny, I go to the drop point, which is they use those Amazon. They have a partnership with Amazon. So Amazon rents their vans from them. So I drop it at the Amazon distribution center. And the guy goes, your new van is number, XYZ123. I don't have a new van. He goes, yeah, I got you a new van so you could drive it back to Jacksonville, and I'm just going to trade them vans. I said, no, remember that part where you texted me and we said you agreed we were done today after I dropped that off? He's like, yeah, done with that van. I said, no, done. Your van here, a plane flight home. And he was like, I don't think that's what I meant. I was like, that's what I asked. He was like, he ended up being like, well, all right, I'll figure it out. And I was like, man, that's what I wanted you to do in the first place, man. Why didn't you help me? So anyway, I'm going home, and I'll be home safe. So it's 6:30 here in the Midwest. How are you doing, Chris? Thanks for hopping in today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Doing pretty good. I was up with the 9-month-old for a little bit this morning, so I got my pre-run. I'm good.
Yeah, you're those first really couple of years, but really definitely the first year, just zombie time. There's no reality of time. You never really fully rested and relaxed. You just just kind of get sleep when you can. You're up when you can, and you're like, you just live life at like 78% for about a year and a half, you know?
Yep. Oh yeah. We lucked out. They're both pretty good sleepers, but it's it's strict. It's 8 at night and 7 o'clock in the morning. He's up.
Well, hey, that's pretty good though. I mean, if you're getting to
Yeah.
7 a.m. and getting through the night, that's real cool.
Yeah, we
So,
got real lucky with that.
Yeah, I only ever had one, and that's enough there. But yeah, good morning, everybody in the chat. You guys know I don't just like read everybody's names. You got better things to do. But thank y'all for joining this morning. Yeah, Keith says sleep. Yeah, Keith is dedicated. Creative Genetics, West Coast, joining the show. It's still 4:36 there, I believe. Chris,
that's wild.
I think I know the answer, but are you and Jennifer coming down to Daytona, or is Tinley the next big show you're doing?
Both.
Okay,
yes,
I thought
sir.
so. Yeah, so I sent you like the thumbnail. I was like, hey, we'll talk about Daytona, and then I was like, I need to make sure he's actually going to Daytona. That would make more sense if he is. So, what's your itinerary? What day are you getting in?
We're gonna head out Tuesday morning. We're probably gonna leave like 4 in the morning. That way the kids are sleeping. Get them in the car, and then we'll stop probably, I don't know, around 8 or 9. Pick up breakfast, and then we are staying in North Carolina Tuesday night with my wife's grandparents.
Okay, cool.
We visit them often, maybe twice a year, but it's nice. They're halfway. They're 8 hours right in between. So we're gonna stop there, let the kids, get out and enjoy themselves for the rest of the day. See my mom and pop up, and then Wednesday morning, get on the road, and we're trying to be in Daytona by early afternoon Wednesday. So
good. Yeah, that's a long. I mean, not real long, but yeah, you got what, 8 or 9 hours that day
that
as well?
second stretch. Yep, it's about 16 or so with both, but we're probably going to stop at St. Augustine or a few places along the way, just to break it up with the kids. But yeah, we plan on being in early Wednesday, try to get some beach time, and then then party until I think we're leaving Tuesday morning and doing the same thing on the way home. Hitting North Carolina, sleeping over, and then coming back Wednesday afternoon. So this is our beach week.
You could get some rest on Monday after the festivities and be refreshed for the drive then on Tuesday.
That's right.
Yeah. Are you guys? I have to ask. When you're traveling, are you a Buc-ee's kind of family or not? Do you go into that hell that is Buc-ee's?
Well, we live around Wawa, so we're used to that same kind of hell, so to speak.
Wawa's. I will take a Wawa over Buc-ee's any day. I mean, 5 minutes of your travel life they have dog parks at their gas station, and like
really,
the Disney Buc-ee mascot bopping around the place. Oh, if you haven't been, you should go just to decide if you're Buc-ee's people or not. Honestly.
Oh, we're definitely going to stop there. I remember the first time I heard about him, it was Chris from D Exotics.
Yeah,
he was on his way up to meet Tony from Hardwired. They were doing a video or something, and he got like them each costumes, like the Buc-ee's costumes, and he made Tony wear it on the video, and it was funny as hell. Tony seemed so awkward, but he was such a good sport with it.
Oh, that seems like the most un-Tony. Like Tony's like a dude's dude. I mean, the guy
straight-laced guy. Yeah. But he chipped in. That was funny. So we're definitely going to check it out. I want to see what Buc-ee's is all about.
Yeah, I got to say, to Tony's credit, he came on the show, no holds barred, no hey, don't bother me about this or that. Ask anything you want. I'll help out any way I can. Like Tony was great. And actually, the last time I saw him was in Daytona last year. We filmed some together last year. So
I'm looking forward to meeting him in person. We DM'd and talked briefly, but definitely look forward to meeting him. I want to see his knives too.
Yeah, he's like the very first. He's like the very first booth when you walk in the main room at Daytona. He and Kittinger are right across from each other, and they're both the very first two booths when you walk in.
Nice.
So speaking of Daytona, Chris, you got to come hang out too. Friday night, Steven and Courtney, because we got to the bottom of this on Tuesday, but Steven is he's setting up a live simulcast on my channel and his channel on YouTube.
Oh, nice.
Proper Royals Live, 5:15 Friday night from the Hilton. I think the lobby, but lobby-ish, somewhere in the Hilton. And from 5:15 to 8:15, we'll be doing interviews, seeing what's going on with everybody. So come by. We have different slots. We'll have about 4 or 5 like scheduled interviews that are 20, 30-minute slots. But then there's going to be just hanging out, he and I together, him playing producer or him on screen. But come by and see. I see Balls and Strikes. That's Troy. Troy's going to come by the booth and hang out
cool
on Friday as well. So we'll wrap up by 8:15 so we can still go get dinner and have a productive day on Saturday too. While I'm vending. I gotta work. I can't quite behave the way I did last year. I'm gonna get myself.
It'll still be a good time though.
Oh, I'm gonna have a blast. Yeah, I just got to get myself a little bit of a stricter limit.
Yeah, Troy said he saw that with when they were dressed up in the beaver costume.
I got to find that. I did not see that. And like at Buc-ee's, when you see the beaver like costume dude, like you have a moment where you're like, all right, do I like this or do I want to punch him in the throat? Because
is it freaky?
Yeah, there's nothing in the middle that you're gonna feel. You know, you're like, this is a gas station. And like from a business sense, like who drew up those plans? Like who was like the pitch to investors? So when they're like, no, there's going to be 200 pumps. It's going to be 10 acres of gas paradise, lifestyle brand gas station. And we're going to have a beaver that walks around in front of the 200 yards of beef jerky. And somebody was like, oh, that's perfect. That's what we're going to do. You're in. Good for them.
I can't wait now.
Yeah. Well, there's one right when you said St. Augustine. There's one right in St. Augustine down the road from me. So
perfect.
Right in my there. My wife actually works like right across the street from it when she goes to the office. So
nice.
What are you producing this time of year? What do you got going on? I know you have. For people that don't know, give like a little rundown of your menagerie, of your species. What do you got?
Man, well, mostly work with ball pythons. We probably got about 160, 175 ball pythons in that collection between like everything, holdbacks, raise-ups, adults. But we venture off into a lot of other species. I really enjoy working with boas. We got maybe 5 or 6 different localities of boas: Costa Ricans, Tarahumarians, Peruvian longicata, Dumerals. And we're slowly expanding other things, working with some Argentines, hopefully in a year or two. We got a lot of Pituophis, pine snakes, bull snakes, Mexican black kings. So I like every year I try to breed something new, something different, a different species, or at least something of a different subspecies. You know, like I've bred pine snakes before, but this year was the first for Louisiana pines. So that was pretty cool. Yeah. Every year I try to bring something new to the table, or at least acquire a new species. I have some scrubs I'm raising up. I have some womas I'm raising up. So each year, you know, it's something new and exciting and challenging to just try to, you know, produce. So that's how I kind of spice it up. That's what we do. And
do you keep those? Are all your species from like an ambient room facility setup standpoint? Are they all in the same area, or do you have to? I mean, obviously you have to make some different conditions for different animals, but how do you balance that, or do you specifically look for species that will work in the same place together?
Well, the boas and ball pythons and bloods are all very similar. And pretty much babies to juveniles of a lot of species can be very similar and easily kept. So any of the Pituophis, the North American species, the pines, the bulls, the black Mexican blacks, they all need to be brumated, hibernated, basically.
Yeah.
So they, as babies, I don't hibernate them. I just leave them. I slow their food down in the fall. And they get a little bit cooler, but they never drop down to like the 50 degrees that the adults go to. Yeah. So my adults, they at 50 degrees at the corner of the basement for 3 months, and I don't touch them.
Gotcha. Okay, so do you have like a finished basement segment of heat is still at mid 70s or low 80s, and then the ambient, winter basement temps.
Yep. So the juveniles and babies of like the North American species, they'll sit in like the bottom of the racks in my ball python boa room, where it's a little bit cooler. It's a concrete floor. There's some carpet in it, but even if the rack itself is holding 82, 85, your lower levels are still, maybe in their high 70s or low 70s, depending on where the snake wants to go. So that works out well. I have a 5540, and I have all my boa, a 5540, and then like it's a half 70-30, half 50, half 5540.
Yeah, I got one.
And I have all the boas on the bottom row of that. So, and that's all in a whole separate zone on my Herpstat 6. So that allows me to adjust just the boa zone, drop them at specific times, and not mess up the whole rest of the rack. And, it always, I'm a big believer that it always comes down to, you can breed anything in captivity. You just have to find that sweet spot. You need to get those temperatures right. I know tubs are pretty much they're gray. You can't see. There's no light, but I believe in light cycles. So like my lights are on a timer, and they go through a cycle. Summer they get longer. The winter they get darker. Whether or not it helps, I don't know, but I've always done it, and I'm going to continue to do it.
I think it does work, and I think the light filters in. Probably,
it's gotta.
Yeah, and I don't know about
cracks and stuff.
Yeah, and there's even the air holes and that thing. And I don't know anything about boas and the other species, particularly the arboreal ones, but the pythons, that's sort of their natural jam anyhow, is to have the light just filter in the wild in their native settings where they're staying. So
you figure if they're buried in the ground, they're going to catch glimpses of light and reflections and stuff coming through. So it can't be much different.
Right. So that's what I think. So like now I'm asking all these questions because I'm moving to a very cold climate. It will be a finished basement workshop area. So hearing right, you don't bring the ambient temperature up to 78 or 80. You let the ambient be what it is, and you manage just the individual tub temperatures with the thermostat.
Well, so I run two rooms. I have an 11 by 11 room, which is basically like the tropical room. So that has the ball pythons, the boas, all the babies, and some juvenile Pituophis, but they're like on the floor, so they can still stay a little bit cooler. They're in a separate tote as their babies to juveniles. And then the other half of our basement, I have about a 25-foot wall that's just lined with custom cages that a local guy builds.
Yes.
And there's probably pictures floating around. Yeah.
Ed. Is that his
name?
Ed, not Eric.
Yeah.
Ed.
You met him at Warfels.
Yeah. And he does great work. I guess for anybody local there, he's fantastic work.
Yeah. Ed's a great guy. I've known him for quite a few years now. So in that room, that's where it's just basement temps. 65, 70 is the ambient, but in the other room with the ball pythons and boas, I keep that right at about 80, 82. Yeah. Sometimes it'll spike to like 87 in the summertime, or it might drop to 78 in the dead of winter. Yeah. But for the most part, that room stays about 82. But then the other room can fluctuate pretty good. But they all have their individual heat panels and heat lights as well. Yes. So they can, I can adjust that, so when they come out of hibernation in the spring, I'll keep that at, I'll break them in real slow. 1 week they'll be at 65, and then the next week I'll go up to maybe 70, 72 the next week, and slowly bring them up, and at the same time extend their daylight too.
Right. And what do you use to the room that you are running the higher ambient temperature in? Do you use like a oil register space heater, or are you using an HVAC mini split, or what are you doing on there?
Just a room heater, an oil filled radiator.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
It works a little hard in the winter. It really has to fight to keep those temps up. But in the winter, I'm keeping my temps a little bit cooler anyway. Yes. So I do a little bit of seasonal drop, not much, but I do a little bit at night, especially. I feel that really helps with the breeding too. And, getting the females to, build good and the male sperm to stay viable throughout the season.
Yeah. Well, and it probably adds to the natural cycles too. Where you so then you don't need to fight it as much anyhow. Is that
Yeah.
is that what you find though?
Yeah, I'm a strong believer in cycling animals. I know a lot of people are like, nah, just put a ball python in a room, 82 degrees, and it'll breed. And it will. It will. Don't get me wrong. But I'm so used to, I think, cycling other species that it just seems natural to me. So I put a little bit of a cycle in there, and that's what I've been doing for, the last 10, 11 years. And it's been good to me.
I think it's worth like I'll admit I don't cycle seasonally in Florida, but it's because it's a near impossible fight. Like, it's always it's never, it's rarely below 82 in Florida. And I mean, we do get freezes and that stuff, but I mean, for the outside temperature to affect the inside ambient in Florida is very, very rare. Whereas Pennsylvania has full seasons.
Oh yeah.
Clearly, I'm going to Minnesota is going to have real seasons. So I'm trying to watch that. Even at Taylor and Danny's, where my snakes are at now, their farmhouse ambient temperature with the windows open in the evenings was getting down into the 60s.
Yeah, so, easily.
Yeah, I was already having to adjust the temperatures on the panels because where they were set in Florida in an ambient of 82, the panels didn't have to work as hard as they immediately were having to work in Minnesota. So we're going to check that and keep an eye on the temps. I cranked them up pretty well, but depending on the contact of your heat panel and the tubs, it was
bring Miles.
Yeah, one of them was handling it just fine, and the others my grow out rack actually has back heat rather than belly heat, and that back heat was really fighting to get up because that contact just isn't there. It's sort of heating an ambient area, and I have the rack wrapped and insulated, but even still, I had to crank that one way up to get
nice. This is for Jessica. Jessica wanted to see the baby. This is Miles. Hi, buddy. You say smile at everybody. Say hi. Look. Hi. Say hi. They're right here.
There he is.
There you go, Jessica. There's your baby fix.
There it is.
I'll smell them later.
And is Miles coming to Daytona?
Oh yeah, Miles and Lincoln will be at their party, and they get in free. They don't have to buy a VIP pass, so they'll be partying.
Yeah,
yep.
Okay. Yeah, you can come smell the baby. Actually, that's really weird to say in this day and age. I don't know if you can smell Chris's baby or not, but
we'll talk about it.
Right? Yeah, we'll bring your most recent tests, and
that's right.
We'll see. Yeah.
But going back to your room when you're up there, once you do get it dialed in and decide how you want to run your ambient, if you're going to choose to run an ambient. I know Nathan over in Infinite Possible Pythons, he doesn't run an ambient. His snakes are in a, I don't think it's a spare bedroom, but it's almost like a sitting room that you go through to get to some bedrooms, and it's just open air. He doesn't use any ambient. But I've noticed this year he had, I'm not sure what the correlation is, but he had a couple girls that held onto their eggs for 3 weeks past their due, and ended up having issues with some of those babies coming out. So we're trying to see if there's a correlation to this, to the moms holding their eggs a little bit longer if your temps aren't high enough. Yeah. But then you don't want to put your heat tape up too high that you're cooking them. Yeah. At the same point, Yeah. So I know he runs that, but in the wintertime, you're going to be fighting your humidity. So you definitely get a humidifier, because once that oil heater starts ramping up and cooking, your snakes are going to dry out like that. And if you're not on top of them sheds misting, you're going to have crappy sheds, and it just turns into a ball. Yeah, that new that first year of figuring it out, going through a full cycle of seasons and learning. So I'm not familiar with terms like blowers and furnace and so this one actually has what the guy was showing me yesterday. It has a humidifier on the central heating unit, right? Yep, in the ductwork. Humans, so your skin doesn't get so dried out. So I'm gonna have to work that room. Finding out maybe those room misters. I don't know if those will, if they are fogger kind of thing, if that's going to make sense, or
I'm sure I'm going to have to do it by hand too, just to keep an eye on, just to stay really dialed in on it.
Yeah,
and
those room ones are nice. Nathan's got one of those as well. It taps right into your water line like a fridge line with like those saddle valves, and you set it what you want it, and man, when it drops, that thing just kicks on and shuts off on its own.
Yeah.
So
any mold issues? I feel like that would could be pretty quick to be an issue in a basement already.
If you pump your humidity up, yeah, anywhere. I mean, look what Hardwick did when he got that 50-gallon humidifier, and he had mold like throughout his house, but he was running it nonstop, And come on, you're a ball python. You don't need 75% humidity. You barely need 60%.
Right.
You know what I mean? My biggest thing is just around shed times I missed, and when breeding. But the room humidifier holds it between 40 and 50 on an average day.
Yeah, that's where I would want to be. To your point, and
you don't want to go higher than that.
No, and I'm about to spend some money and time and headache retrofitting that room that we do have picked out in the house, and there's a finished portion of the basement, and then a semi-finished workshop area down there that's about 450 square feet. It's laid out a little strange. It's not an even square, but about a 2-car garage worth of space.
Okay.
Which is what I'm in now, but that has storage now. That has my office and my rehearsal space. So none of that will be there. That will be pure snake space down there.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, it's going to be a much bigger facility space for me. But
are you setting up like the podcast room in the snake room, or is that going to be separate with your office still?
I'm not sure. I think ideally what I would do is set up a film space in both. So I could do because I'll need it for the office for remote work anyhow.
Right.
But I could have a redundant setup somewhere else maybe, or just a mobile setup so that I will be doing filming in there as well. So
I was just going to say, that way then you're in there, the snakes are right there and you can take all those pictures or whatnot, Yep.
Yeah, so I'm looking at that, and some of it's going to be a matter of money, but I've got to put a new ceiling in there, which I don't even know how to. There's a lot of things I know how to do. I don't know how to do ceiling work, so I got to get the ceiling in there. I'm going to put down the LVP flooring, and then at the very least get a couple very thick coats of white paint on the walls, so at least it's clean, it's bright.
Sealed.
Yeah, fresh LED spotlight, shop lights, so that it's kind of set up like a nice clean kitchen would be, where it's light colors, very bright. You see all so that no dirt accumulates. The sink's coming with me. It's already plumbed for the sink. Got a drain to drop that. Yeah, the sink is in Minnesota. I got to go take care of my toe stock is still in Florida. I got to take care of that now with no sink. So I'm gonna be back to moving my table, scrubbing. Anyway,
that'd be nice. Just make sure when you're, any kind of recommendations, if you can do recessed lighting, so that way, depending on how tall you go with your racks, you're not fighting like lights hanging.
Yeah.
And just just don't skimp. Do it right. Make sure you got the insulation.
Right.
If you got to hire a sub to come in and do it, then unfortunately, that might be the best way.
And I agree with you completely on that. That's where, like I say, we're going to put some money in and spend the money. So like the flooring and the wall paint, I could probably handle. And we're going to have to do a little bit of construction. There's they had built like a makeshift closet through one of the walls of the finished basement area that went into that workshop, and then they removed it. So there's like these 2 double doors that aren't insulated. They're flimsy. I got to take those out and just finish that wall and insulate it.
Just put a door on it, right?
Yeah, and just do it right. So it's going to be a little bit of a process, but I can't make it too long of a process because I need those snakes set up before any kind of harsh winter sets in. I need to have a plan and have things dialed in before that. So it's going to go pretty quick with a priority once we can get up there.
Yeah, and you definitely want to get them situated and set because, August, September, October, November, 3-4 months, we're starting to breed again.
That's the thing. Yeah. So I think it was good to go ahead and get the breeders and the holdbacks up here to this climb.
Yep.
Yeah, there's another big move, and then I got to get them resituated once I'm in that place. You know.
Have you thought about a quarantine room or somewhere for overflow, new animals?
Yeah, yeah, there is opportunity for that, and even show stock first. I like the idea of keeping my show stock and breeder holdback stock separate. I like that. It's something that I did in Florida because I had a room inside the garage, so I would keep breeders and holdback. That was like high security. The others could come in and out, come and go, but if they went to a show, they didn't go back in that room. Actually, ever really. Once they're out of that room, they're done, kind of thing. And then to get into the room, they had to be healthy for about 6 weeks outside of the room, kind of deal.
Nice. Yeah, Troy was saying concrete floor. That's what I currently have now in the basement. So you spill water or anything like that, it's not a big deal. It just adds to the humidity in the room. Concrete's always a good option, but it does get cold in the winter. Really, the cold really radiates up through the floor, and that, well, like I said, that bottom rack. Now you can put like a piece of insulation on the bottom of your 5540 to kind of slow that coolness from creeping up on them bottom layers. Yeah, but I like that. I use that to my advantage.
That's the kind of thing I'd rather use things to my advantage than fight them. So I like it's a concrete floor that's in there now, and really my real flooring would be like a poured in epoxy like we would do in a kitchen, but that's probably not in the budget. It's probably not reality. So the waterproof, very thick LVP flooring is what I like. That's what I have in my snake room in Florida, and I can wheel the racks around on it.
Okay.
You can mop it, you can spill on it. We use that in like dry storage areas of kitchens. So we'll do the epoxy in like the dish pit and where the lines are, or the cook lines where they would have grease and whatnot. But the dry storage areas, we would do that waterproof thick LVP flooring, and that just pops together and floats. You can actually get that down pretty fast.
Yep. Nice. Good deal.
Yeah, Keith says if you paint the floors epoxy, it'll hold in the humidity. Yeah, concrete with epoxy is my plan. Troy says, I'm going to I at least should get a quote and find out what it's going to cost me, because there is the time money advantage. If it's within a few $100, but I don't have to spend the time and the effort to do it, then you get it poured in, right? You just tell the guy, hey, get there, pour it before, and let it cure and the gas off the gases before the animals get in.
Right. And the other thing too, like you gotta weigh your options too, is like, I mean, you think 5 years down the road, oh well, okay, that couple $100 is worth it now to do it. Now you're going to want to pull all your racks out of that room and do it now. That's why like that head prep, get everything done you can, because once you move all them racks and them animals in there, it's such a headache to move them out to do simple chores that you could have done when the room was empty.
Yeah, we're in when we were prepping the house in Florida for sale, there was a ton of little like, a piece of trim here. We had built in a wine fridge over here and left this trim there. And the realtor was like, finish all these little things. And we're doing it. And Kelly even said out loud, she was like, why did we wait 2.5 years to do? We should have just done it. And because the house looks like the house looks the best it's looked. And we're not going to be living in it now that it looks the best that it looks. And to your point, you're not, once you're settled in, like, inertia, you're just there. You get used to and normalized all the surroundings around you, so
daily life chores take over and you forget about all that extra crap.
Yeah, I gotta go check with let's see. Yeah, choices insulated flooring on top of the concrete for Minnesota is a wise move. I'm gonna check with Joe and Sheena. I talked to them yesterday really briefly at JSA. I will not be able to pull off their facility. Their facility has heated water pipes that run through the flooring, which is just beautiful.
Radiant, yeah.
Yeah, I won't be able to do that, But I'm going to ask, I think they have some pretty good insight. I'm going to ask them, hey, short of that, what would you do? Because they do make, a lot of bathrooms in Minnesota actually have the heat strips under the tile or under the flooring. So is there a concrete sealant, then heat strips, then LVP, or should I pour epoxy over those? Or,
right.
combination of all these things is, so I need to get that done, and then I'm going to have to bring in a contractor or an expert. Kelly's family has a lot of really fine craftsmen. I don't know if they'll jump in with me or if I can. Hiring family is always a weird thing, so I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
But, we're going to. I got to get the ceiling. I got to get the ceiling and the flooring done. I can handle the lights and the electrical myself. I can handle. The paint and the walls. And I don't know if I'd said on the show or not before, the cool thing about the house is electrical, it's net negative. It's got all solar panels. And so each month, the electric bill, you get a credit, and the electric and natural gas company are the same company. So the electric that they buy from me with the solar panels pays for the winter gas. So it's nice. Electric and gas neutral as far as the dollar amount. I have no idea when it comes to the carbon offset and that sort of thing, but it sounds better. It feels like it's got to be better. But the owners, few years, they across the whole year, they average $0 on gas and electric.
That's nice. That's very nice.
Yeah, that'll help a lot. Now we'll see when I'm running heat in that room. maybe I'll maybe I won't. But it's gonna be that. It's going to have a big chunk offset especially versus what I'm paying in Florida right now.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's kind of like what Phil did up here with his whole battery backup and everything. It's awesome.
Yeah, I actually want to get in touch with Phil because the realtor thought I was a nut because I was like, where does the power go? Does it go to me first? And then what I don't use, does it go to the grid? And he said he actually called the company and asked the current owners. The power goes straight to the grid. I get a credit, and then whatever I use, they apply to the credit. So it goes straight to the grid first. And I said, I got to talk to Phil. I want to get battery packs that charge first, then go to the grid. So I got to tie Phil on that. On the panels, I own that, or I will. Yeah. I don't own the house yet, but I will.
So now Phil's all about that. He wants to. I mean, he told me what I would need to do mine, and to sit there and listen to it. You're like, I have no idea what he's talking about, but he definitely he's got it.
Him talking about that stuff is like me talking about wine. Like he is like it's a whole different language, but he's the right guy for the job for it. Like he's the one.
What is your wine of choice? Not too off topic, but.
Oh man, that's like asking you what's your snake of choice. I don't know. Like it depends what I'm having for dinner, the seasons. Like a hot summer day, I'm going to drink something different than I am on a winter evening having pot roast. So I love it. I love exploring the flavors. I love thinking about what decisions the winemaker made to come up with that. And in that way, it's a lot like snake breeding. Okay, why did we feel that Enshi would go great with this pied project? Oh, it's because we wanted the long, low light pattern, and
right.
Those similar mindset decisions are made in winemaking. So I always I've equated the two. I think the well is pretty shallow of people that overlap wine and snake breeding though. So I've let it go, but I love it. I think through it together.
Yeah, that's neat. Yep.
Yeah, Benevolent Reptile says the net neutral may change a bit with the reptiles in there. Yeah, I think it will, but I'll at least be ahead and have that starting credit that I'm working with. So to finish that thought, what I really tried to clarify with the owners, and I've got clarification. I asked them, I said, if the power goes out, are you generating your own electricity? And they said no, because it goes to the grid first, and then we take it back from the grid. And I said, well, that's kind of a dumb thing. But then I found out they have they've already installed, I think it's called a disconnect or a switchover, where you plug in a generator and then you flip your panel board to the generator plug-in. That's already there too. So I'm like, this is a pretty good, like, all signs are pointing to this being a really good setup already for our needs, you know. So
Yeah.
I'm not so sure I believe in signs from the universe that it wants me to buy that house. But if I did, there would be some pretty strong signs, you know. I'm not sure the universe cares what house I buy, but if it does, this is looking like a pretty good one, you know.
I like that little switch over. That's nice. You can just plug it in and switch it over, and then it runs everything. I have to get a switch like that installed. We have a generator, but you know, I got to fire it up, run cords, and do all that garbage. But I definitely want to get something on a concrete pad that's just, you know, piped right in, natural gas, power goes out, 10 seconds goes by, and then pow, you know, it kicks on or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Definitely need that.
yeah, that's what I would really like. And we have in North Carolina, we didn't have many like natural weather disaster kind of things, but the infrastructure where we were was so rural. If the power went out, it could go out for 4 or 5 days at a time, and especially in the winter. So we always had a generator kit there, and then Keith calls it a transfer switch. That's
Transfer.
But so like the people in North Carolina that really knew what they were doing, they had to transfer. Yeah, you go fire up the generator, flip the switch, boom, house power's back up. Then in Florida with the hurricanes, I started to see neighbors have that as well. And I still just had the rolling, like, generator out, run the extension cords, let's get up and running. And I was like, you know, when I next time I make a capital investment, infrastructure investment in a house, I'm either going to have the solar panels or I'm going to have this transfer switch because you have so many not better things. You have so many important things to be worried about in a weather disaster, whether it's freezing temperatures for animals or people, or whether it's a hurricane in tropical temperatures that aren't safe. So many things to get to, and screwing around with a pull start generator that, you know, ideally we've tested them all, but that's like who of us gets our oil changed right on the right mileage? Who of us is testing our generator every 3 months and making sure the oil, you know, like I know I do, but I don't do it right. It's not good enough. Yeah, it's good enough, but it's not great, you know. So
I run mine twice a year, but you know, it's like that one time when you need it, it's not going to go.
Right. So I mean, knock on wood, I won't need I won't need a whole lot, or I won't need that stuff, but yeah, you know, I worry about that. So yeah, Danny made a good point too. That's a good thought, to get the biggest door I can for the reptile room so that I can go in and out. Yeah, I was talking to my wife about how we're going to get the sink in there. I was like, I don't know that sink is going to go down the stairs and into the room, but they got a massive, and I mean biggest, like a very, very wide fridge down there. But it's a straight freezer. It's the whole thing is it's a single door,
big open freezer,
but it's one big vertical freezer. And I was like, does that come with the house? They're like, thank God, we don't want to move it out of here. Yeah, it comes with that. Yes, that is where I could get less and less shipments. You know, like
the rat freezer.
Yeah, on the rats. Exactly right, man.
Nice. Exactly. They might have had to pull. They might have moved that down there when the door and the actual trim was off, because that's what we had to do with our place when we refinished everything. We took the fridge out, and I was like, well, we might as well keep it. It's still a good fridge, but it wouldn't go down the steps because it was too wide. But at that point in time, we had everything out, you know, the doors, the door frame and everything. And that gave you just enough to get down there. So now it's not coming back up the steps.
Right.
Because it's all framed and the doors on it. So
that's how they were. They were like, we really don't want to fight that thing out. I'm like, I really don't want you to fight that thing out.
Some things just come with a bonus.
Yep, exactly. So well, anyway, enough about on my end there. Chris, where can people get in touch with you to chase down some of these babies and the unique opportunities that they're breeding? How do people find you, man?
Mostly on IG. We put everything up on IG, like anything we're hatching, anything that's hatching. Some of it transfers over to Facebook, but I don't personally go over and visit Facebook that often. I've always had issues with the account, so I just stick with Instagram and post stuff up on there. Sometimes in the lives or some of the channels I sponsor, I'll give you guys a list of what's hatching or what's coming out where you can see it there. You can always reach out to me, DM me on IG, and I mean, Yeah, ask questions. The colubrids are coming in quick now. Seems like I'm gonna come home from Daytona and I'm gonna have like 4 or 5 clutches of colubrids just out ready, waiting for me. So they're coming in quick. The pines, the bulls, the Mexican black kings will be out soon. Yeah.
How quick are you able to sell? Not how quick are they ready to sell? I'm not asking you to predict the market. How long does it take, say, your colubrids to be ready to sell?
It's usually about the same thing as a ball python. I kind of go by like the 5 meal minimum. You know, they'll have more than that, but the colubrids always tend to eat a lot quicker, and they eat, not that you can feed them more, but their metabolisms are so much quicker. I mean, you can feed a baby bull snake a meal, and in like a day and a half, like it's already out 2 days.
Yeah.
You know, so you can feed them like every 4 or 5 days. So as long as they're eating on their own, they could have 5 meals in them easily in like 3 weeks.
Do they have that initial shed that you have to wait for as well, or do they go straight to it? They do. Okay.
Yeah, they come out. They do the same thing as ball pythons. They'll do that shed in about a week to 10 days, and then I let them sit about a week, and then I start with a live pinky and see how that goes. If that works, then we're good. We go to frozen thawed. If they don't take the frozen thaw, we'll throw another live in there. Yeah. But you know, I have the arsenal to do ASFs too, but usually the colubrids are fine. They don't need the ASFs.
They're pretty I wouldn't say voracious, I guess I would say. So, yeah.
They have a strong feeding response.
There you go. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get across. And yeah, you brought it up on the shows that you sponsor, man. You've been really good for the community, myself included. This show's a new concept, but you've always been a huge supporter on Proper Royals Live on Tuesday nights. So I'd be remiss if I didn't say thanks for that. You've been a great guy, a good friend for me. Like you travel a lot. Like we've had dinner in St. Augustine and drank beers together in Pennsylvania. So this is pretty cool. And I think we'll do the same in Daytona. And then I think we've got a date in Tinley. Like if I'm going to be in Minnesota, I damn well better be in October Tinley, right?
I hope so.
Yeah, I gotta figure that out.
Did you get the room yet, or are you still working on that?
Oh, I've done nothing. I probably, if I go, I'm probably going to take you up on couch surfing or buy a little corner for an air mattress from you or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. What did Keith said? Keith said, how smart are they when they're ready to go?
Yeah.
The colubrids, they're like I don't know, maybe a foot or so, maybe 30 some grams. They're tiny. They're pretty small, but they're pretty secure in and usually like a VE rack or something that holds like a FB5 or FB8, something with that style. They're pretty secure in.
Yes, like relative to like a number 2 pencil. Is that about
a little bit thicker? A little thicker, yeah. Maybe like a Sharpie thickness is about how they are when they're ready to go.
Yep. Okay. Oh, look at Danny getting soft and cuddly. He's saying he loves the morning. This is nice. I like this kinder, gentler Danny. This is good.
Yeah.
This is good.
After maybe he gets a few Miller Lights and shots in him, he's ferocious at night.
Well, hey, Chris, I'm going to wrap this up because I'm getting distracted with worrying about getting to the airport. I got to get a car back, and I got miles to put under my belt today, and I'm so happy I'm going to be able to do it on a plane and not in a ProMaster van. So, hey, thanks for hanging out and jumping in this morning on short notice. Let's hang out.
Absolutely.
We will. And I'll say thanks, guys. Support Chris. He supports this community huge. If you're interested in any of his stuff, personally, I can vouch for how much he cares about his animals and takes care of them. And his care has always been evident. And I've never seen a variation from that. And we've been doing business now, almost 2 years, man.
I'd say at least that.
Yeah. So thanks so much for all the support. And
thank you.
Chris, you're very welcome. You get the last word, and then I'm gonna hit the music, man.
Thanks everybody for coming out in the morning. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, Adam. Looking forward to Daytona. Anybody that's gonna be there, please, show up and let's show out. Let's do this. Let's make it a good one.
All right.
Safe travels.
See you real soon. 8 days, man, or something like that.
Right around the corner.
Cheers, guys.